Hello and welcome to the seventh episode of 8. My name is Sanjay Chakravarti. I'm the founding partner of Tag8. My experience has been some of the best ventures are created when the founders themselves see a problem. They want that specific solution and they don't find it in the market. And that's wherein they go in and create that solution for the rest of the community. Today's guest is someone who not only has done just that, but has ended up creating what is potentially one of the largest parental portal that we have in India today, kidsstoppress.com. Not only that, in the recent lockdown, she's also started off a podcast which has become extremely popular and aptly named Raising Parents. I'm delighted to have my dear friend Mansi Zaveri on this show. Mansi, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Sanjay.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you, Mansi.
Likewise, and I love the fact that you mentioned about, it's so important for the founder to go through the problem statement themselves, because then I feel like if the founder's gone through it, then the struggle is real, right? So I completely reckon with you on that.
Super. Mansi, let us get to the first question, the format of the show.
Yes.
Tell us something about yourself in one breath. Who is Mansi?
I think Mansi, I love studying consumer behavior. I'm a rebel, and I am a creature of habit, right? So everything I do, it comes out of an innate habit that I have, or something that I've experienced in my childhood is what I feel like I'm manifesting today.
And let's hear how that has reflected, because I see a complete synergy to what you finally achieved in terms of putting up Kids Stop Press. So tell us something about Kids Stop Press. Again, it's a one breath question.
I literally started with $10,000. That was my investment, a laptop, which I already had. And I designed my own website. I set up my own server. I did everything on my own. 2012 life for me was 25 pe shaadi, 27 pe first baby, 30 pe second baby, and then I want to live my life. And it all manifested the same way for me. I was just lucky. Second baby came, beta version launched, and 2013 January, I went live with it. So that's
awesome.
That's the journey to Kids Stop Press.
Let me get to the third question. And given your type of the business, and you're running it so successfully since the last 9 years, I was very keen to know that when you look at the business, there is on one side as a business model, you have the whole subscription model and you get revenues out of that. The second is the whole advertisement play that comes in. And whenever you talk to anyone who's building that kind of a business, which is so engagement oriented, knowledge-based platform, how do you really balance out? Is there a secret recipe saying that when you start off, maybe this is what you do, and then over a period of time you pivot it, or you do a hybrid model? Or is it like a thing that you need to really discover on the way? So what's been your experience? How did you kind of balance out the whole business model for your business?
Right. That's a great question, Sanjay. And I think a lot of people listening to this episode will, if you are in the media play, if you're in a subscriptions play, you will really, really want to know the answer to this question. There is no right or wrong answer. The way, and I really believe that, Charles Duhigg has said this very beautifully, that we are all creatures of, there's a cue, there's a habit, and then there is a reward, right? And a large part of this is driven by trust. When I started the business, okay, I had to educate the largest players in the segment who have market share upwards of 85-90%, to say that, boss, digital is the way to go. If I would have launched subscription back then, when people were not used to paying for Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever, I think it would have just come crashing down. There would be no future. What I think has worked, and I think typically works for Indian market and Indian consumer, is a lot of trust, right? And I know Kunal Shah of Cred has said this very beautifully, look at the Tata brand, right? नमक से लेके गाड़ी तक वो सब कुछ बेचने हैं. The trust is so much कि वो कुछ भी launch करेंगे तुम खरीदोगे, right? And that's the power of trust, right?
Right.
So what we've done effectively over the last 8 years is we built that trust. And you know, I don't take too much pride in saying that we're the largest parenting platform, because we're not. We're probably the most trusted because everybody, and especially consumers, you know, who are 35 to 40% repeat readers on our platform, they believe that, listen, if I've read it on KSP, it's correct, right? If Mansi is saying it, it's correct. So that kind of level of trust is very important. Once you build that trust, you can layer multiple products on it. So, example, we've launched we launched a subscription program earlier on, which we had to kind of, which was more physical events, etc.,
Right.
which kind of shut down during COVID and temporarily suspended. But when life comes back to normal, we may bring it back. Saw great amount of traction. And that was my first pilot to subscription. Let me see if the consumer pays. And of all the great people I've heard, everybody says when your consumer is ready to pay you even 1 rupee, he is loyal to you. That's your measure of loyalty, right?
Right.
So they started paying. So there some bit ke boss loyalty to hai. That was one. The second is what we launched very effectively during COVID was we launched online courses for our consumers, right? Which was you bridge the gap between an educator who was coming home and the audience that already lies on your platform, right? And you build a community out of it. The
Got it.
minute you start building communities, what you effectively realize is that people like to belong to something,
Right.
right? They want to you may want to belong to anything like 5 a.m. club or 6 a.m. or polo club or whatever, right? We like to belong to something. So that was an effective expansion. But why did they buy? They bought because of the trust factor, which has always been. We never sold to you.
Got it.
And always a brand is built on three things, right? There's brand, there's sell, and there's build, right? You'll have to do all three to ensure that people will buy from you. So that was the third part. And of course, now when we're launching our subscription, which is going to be a hybrid between the two, that yes, some content will be free and some content will be paid for, it'll work, right? And I'm very sure it will. And it's okay if it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it will, because people want to. I think one thing that I think the OTT platforms have really helped media businesses is people have understood quality, right? They've understood that,
Right.
or even the likes of a Ken, right? Classic example. We are ready to pay that money. We may not be talking to the 99 percentile, but if we're talking to that 1%, I think that's great because there's a large enough market there as well. So I think people have, but had I done that 8 years ago, I'm not sure. Is the
Got
market
it.
ready today? Yes, I
Got it.
think so.
Right. So just coming back, if you were to start today, would you start immediately having a subscription and a regular kind of model, or would it now be still the same way that you create that kind of a trust and then look at a subscription model? So someone who's starting off today, what is your advice to them?
I would still say that, guys, you are speaking to the woman of the house, and she is, I mean, we want to hate to admit it, but women still go back to getting a second opinion, right? If you look at a man and a woman shopping, if you look at a man and a woman shopping, a man wants to buy a shirt, he will go to the trial room, buy a shirt, he'll go pick up his shirt and come back. A
Right.
woman will
Right.
spend more time actually in the trial room than she will actually take shopping. And then she will wait for the salesperson to even tell her, the salesperson, madam, aapko bahut acha lag raha hai. That's validation for her, right? That's how women shop.
Right.
So therefore, I feel that because my primary audience is a woman, I am not sure if I would still go all in terms of subscription. Also, she's not, while she's transacting for something she's very sure of. Right? So I would still say that even if it was today, I would still stick to a hybrid model and not an all-in subscription model. But
Great.
having said that, I have a great backing in terms of brand collaboration, Sanjay, which keeps the wheel of revenues going, right? So,
Sure.
which
Sure.
is a very important backing that I have. But
Sure.
have I not got that backing and I have to start without anything at all, it's going to be a long journey.
Got it. Got it. No, that's outstanding. And Mansi, you mentioned about habit and how important it is, which brings me to my fourth question. as to, is there a habit that you can talk to us about that is significantly impacted the way you run your business, and in your case really run your whole life, that we could learn from?
So a couple of things, one, like I already said, I'm a creature of habit, people of habit. Like if I am up at 5 a.m. every single day, no matter what, because I get that 2 hours to myself in the morning, that is habit. If I do certain routines which are important to me, which help me keep me grounded, I do that, right? Other habits would be to practice some sort of physical exercise form, especially for entrepreneurs. I think reflection and change in perspective is so important because we're so used to
Yeah.
seeing things only one way, right? Especially you're lucky you have a co-founder. If you're a single founder, dude, it's damn hard because everybody is
Right.
only thinking you're the boss and you got to lead. But
Right.
where do you kind of bounce and say, dude, am I doing the right thing? Also, for me, the bestest ideas come when I'm either upside down doing my yoga or when I'm running. I don't know why. But it's a great, great, uh, it's great time for me. One is to be a morning person and have some sort of discipline in my life. The
Got it.
second, which I think is very effective for a lot of people, is as entrepreneurs, we don't carve out time for ourselves. We're glorified clerks. So मतलब हमको लगता है हर email, हर team, हर WhatsApp message हमारे लिए बना है, right?
Right.
We
Right.
typically do that, and we don't time block. Now, if you go as per rule, what typically happens, we write a long to-do list. Now, I never write a long to-do list, but every day I will only have 3 personal and 3 professional goals because that's all I can achieve. I don't want to feel at 6 o'clock, I don't want to feel crappy and come back home because it's not possible to do more. And what I mean by three is 3 needle moving tasks, right? If you're doing, like example, sending an email, and and it's not a needle moving task, so you can't have that as a goal,
Right.
right?
Right.
But
Right.
it's tracking an important client, that's your goal,
Right.
right? So that's what I mean. And I think we often, and the reason I write 3 personal goals as well is because, example, if you need to pay your child's fees and that's part of your to do, you need to do it. And
Right.
why do you think somebody else can do it? बस तुम्हारा बच्चा है, तुमको ही करना पड़ेगा. You can't outsource it, right? But we take very little credit for doing all of these things. So that was the second bit of it. And the third, I would say, is we always allocate tasks, but we don't time block. Now, what I mean by that, like example, if I know that this is going to be 12 to 12:45, 12:50 at best, I've blocked only that much time. Because according to Parkinson's law, if you block till 1:15, I will stretch it till that much time, right? So
Right.
example, if I have a deadline to do by Friday, I will make sure that the deadline I give myself is Wednesday. Because otherwise, the Friday ka Saturday bhi ho jayega. But Wednesday ka Friday, typical human mindset, right? So I don't make to-do list really. I just time block on my calendar. So example, 10 minutes of social media, that's the break I give myself. 10 minutes of sending out emails. In between 2 or 3 times checking the emails or whatever, right? But that's it. You don't need to be on your email box all the time. You don't need to. There's nothing that's so urgent.
Right.
Last, which I do very effectively, and I think it helps, and which is something we were talking about just before this, is batching. I batch days. What does it typically mean? Example, today I have 6 recordings. I will finish all of them because they require a certain amount of energy. They need me to not do any creative work. And also, when you're doing conversations like these, you're giving out a lot of yourself, right?
Right.
It does take a lot of energy. So I do similar sort of tasks, batch them together and mark a day for it. So example, if you're saying, I'm going to do only store visits today, do the length and breadth of Mumbai, make sure it's out of your way. So the next 4 days, you're not thinking about store visits. And I keep
Got it.
one day, creative day, which is no meetings, no team, nothing. Like I'm just sitting and thinking, what's the next week going to look like? What's the next month, quarter going to look like?
But yeah, outstanding. Yeah. Tell me, Mansi, just going back to our last question, where do you see Kids Stop Press 8 months from now and 8 years from now?
8 months is very clear. 8 months is definitely, we want to really scale up our vocational courses for children, which we built. We built almost like a Netflix for vocational courses, and I really, really want to scale that up. So goal for 2021 is single-mindedly go after it. So there's, that consumer
Absolutely.
behavior is that's really, really going to change, right? That window shopping is now happening online. And I
Sure.
think that'll be very effective. So I think that is going to be one, 8 years, I would say. Um,
Given that you're
and this is
already at number almost like at one of the leading places, I'm very keen to know where do you go from here?
leading is very subjective, yeah, because I mean, you're talking to a population that is significantly large enough,
True.
where you're not even scraping the surface. So, we can all say that, listen, I am the best player in the segment, I am the largest. But the fact is that, listen, we're still at the tip of the iceberg, right? And I think the minute you say a word like leading, you're already limiting yourself. And I feel limits are very illusioning, very disillusioning, right? And I don't
Right.
want to do that. Where do I see us 8 years from now? I think we still want to be, when we researched we researched this year about Kid Stop Press with our users. 65% said that, listen, every time I come to a platform, I figure out something new, and that's why I love it. So in the next 8 years, can we make that 100%, right? We want every
Super.
single user to feel that, wow, dude, how do they come up with this, right? So I think that is a goal. I think the other goal is that you don't need to go, if you're a parent, you don't need to go anywhere else to figure out anything else but your child, right? Like when we ask for testimonials, or when we ask people what do they think about Kid Stop Press, and they'll be like, I just want to enjoy that unadulterated time with my child and leave everything else to Kid Stop Press. I think that's the vision. That's where I want it to be 8 years from now and continue to be there.
Outstanding. Seems that you're well on your way to do that. Thank you so much for joining in,
Thank you.
and all the very best.
Thanks so much, Sanjay.